Hey guys, want to jump on here and do a video, and I did a article on Medium, and by the way, if you do like to write articles and things like that, probably maybe more so than what I do, it's a great platform. If you already got a blog, you can take your information that you have on your blog and just pretty much it pulls from that and gives you another source that people can see your content. But anyways, the video the article I wrote was about, is Curalin a scam? And the reason I titled that is because, honestly, if you're like me and everybody else, that's what everybody's looking for, looking at. It's like, is this just another product that is a scam? And by that, there's a lot of products out there that may seem good, but, do they really help? You can go to the, nutrition stores and things like that, and there are shelves of products. In some stores, they have, if you go to like one of my favorite store here in town, they'll have even a small section for diabetics. And there's some products you'll questionable results, and they have some like meal replacement type products that looked interesting. Some of them I've tried, and they definitely may additionally help with controlling your blood sugar, because that deals more with the diet. But as far as like supplements, like what you see with the Curalin, and just so you can see, I use this product myself. There's nothing that I've seen that, for one, has worked as well as this, and number two, has worked for so many people. So out of the people I know, not only does it work for me, it's worked for my mom, who was on, like, I believe 4 different medications, including one that was an injectable. And so at some point, her doctor was like, hey, look, at some point we're gonna have to be looking at insulin, okay? Because these drugs that we've been taking for years and years and years, because my mom's been a diabetic, gosh, let's see, I'm closing on 40 now, probably since, probably since I was maybe 14, 15 years old. So that's 25 years that she's been a diabetic. And so the longer you use drugs, the less effective they become. And granted, she's done some things. She watches what she eats. She watches her levels. She tests that. But with all the diet things, even losing weight and some exercise, eventually she was going to have to go on insulin, is kind of what the doctors were leading her to believe. And so I started trying it, and started working for me. And then I introduced it to my brother. He started using it. It worked. Works for him, helping, control his blood sugar levels. And then my mom used it, and she's got like a piece of paper. She's written down like every day, multiple times a day, exactly what her blood sugar levels are. And even some days she was like tracking what she was eating. And by no means was it perfect, but she was, she'll have some days like, she knows if she's gonna go eat a pizza, or it's gonna throw her sugar over 200 or something like that. But it's brought down her A1C, closer to that 6 range. And she's been able to get off all her medications, and just watch a little bit what she eats, and simply the Curalin. Now if all you're doing is taking this and then just eating what you want, let me tell you, that's eventually going to catch up. So even if, let's say you got a healthy A1C, maybe you got a 5.7, that perfect, everybody's looking below that 5.7 A1C. But if eventually, and maybe you're able to eat what you want and with this, okay, and still get your A1C control, but eventually that diet, what you eat, is going to catch up with you. And out of everything, as far as being a type 2 diabetic, the most important thing is your diet. Okay, drugs, medication. I mean, if you can't control any other way, that's pretty much your last ditch effort. The problem with medication, and keep in mind, I'm no doctor, but we all know that all these different medications have side effects. Side effects on our kidneys, side effects on our liver, side effects on our nervous system, side effects on our lymphatic system. All these our reproductive system, our the challenge I was having with metformin. I felt like that, especially when I tried to play any kind of racket sport, my calf muscles would really tense up, and it made me harder for me to move, and it kind of like, and I think it was I felt like a lactic acid buildup, and it wasn't bad to the point of like lactic acidosis, which is, man, that's an extreme. I don't think it was to that point, but that metformin, and that was giving me that issue back in, let's see here, I remember probably 2013, or was it 14? Maybe 2014, probably maybe even further back, noticed the issue with the metformin. But as far as controlling blood sugar, between metformin and Januvia, or some of these other drugs that are like Januvia, like the Ungaza, or a combo of the, like the Jonumet, which is a combination of the metformin and the Januvia, that seemed to really work for me. And when I was, as far as medication goes, but I remember one day being on the job. I was supporting some retail locations, and I was in Cleveland, Tennessee, and I'd been there all morning. I was sitting around, I was talking, and I believe talking to some customers, talking to some employees of this particular retail store, and feeling fine. But then slowly, all of a sudden, I began to feel something that I never felt before. And it was my blood sugar began to drop. And then I realized that, and so I began to just eat some different things. I think I went and got a candy bar and some things, and of course, I mean, and I had to immediately get away from my job. I had to leave, and which I had a flexible job, so luckily I was in a position to be able to do that. But I left, and I got. But then it shot my sugar way up, and the thing is, I didn't have I didn't have my test supplies with me to know where my sugar is. It too low? Is it too high? I had no clue, and so I think I went home, and it shot, probably near 250 or something like that, or who knows what my blood sugar what was at that moment. But anyways, I mean, I probably had a couple, 2, 3, something like that, incidents of low blood sugar because of medication-induced hypoglycemia. And it's all due to the medication, It's just, it kind of sends the sugar down the wrong direction, which we all know that, I mean, the bad thing about low sugar, if it goes too low, it's high sugar, low sugar. And that's what type 1 diabetics typically deal with, is that low sugar as well. And but the beautiful thing with being off medication and with this is that I don't, not only does it work, but I don't have those. It doesn't just send it down so low, like at 40s and 50s, where I'm like shaking, and I've never had that issue on this. Even with doing physical activity, which if you know anything about how physical activity affects your body, it's definitely going to lower your blood sugar, especially when combined with things that are, tend to lower your glycemic levels. And but I haven't thus far found that with this product, and so you can go online, you can look up the ingredients and different things like that, and the way the ingredients are listed, there's some different names, but you can go on there and see that most of these have been used for a long time, and as far as supplements, and but it seems to be that this combination definitely it works for me. And you know, and you know, keep in mind, I tried other things like one that worked. I felt like I was seeing some results on was the berberine. Okay, I felt like berberine had some impact as far as helping my blood sugar. At least at first, you know, some things they would work for a little bit and they'd stop working. So it's kind of really hard to tell. I felt like cinnamon. I could take like a teaspoon of cinnamon and make like a tea out of it. Which if you're on any kind of blood thinner, you got to be a little bit careful because it's kind of got a natural blood thinner in the cinnamon. Unless there's a very few amount of cinnamon that you can buy that doesn't have that effect, like let's say a Coumadin or something like that would have on your body. You know, and there's probably some benefits of the cinnamon, and definitely I think probably helps in that glucose transport and using that that sugar that's in your body and helping that insulin get in the cells. And you know, there's probably some benefits of the cinnamon, and I would see some results of that. And I tried 101 different things, and nothing that was like, okay, this is a replacement for my medication. And I'm saying, you know, here's the thing with my mom. She was on all these different drugs. If she went and asked her doctor, hey, should I try, is this okay? He's not gonna know. I mean, it's like you can go look in, you know, WebMD, see if there's any drug interactions with each of these. You know, I definitely wouldn't, you know, again, I'm not a doctor, I don't claim to be, but I wouldn't take this around at the time of any other, you know, prescription medication or anything like that. If it was me. Now, if it's just like metformin, you know, something like that, you'd be okay. Like if you're taking like one thing I've read, and I don't know if I tried it or not, but that people that are taking metformin, when they combine it with the berberine, that makes the metformin a little more effective. So if you're, you know, taking a medicinal route, so I've seen combos of just the berberine and turmeric. I've read that can have some good effects, but nothing quite like this. So, you know, is it a scam? No. Is it going to work for everybody? No. I would say, as far as type 2 diabetics go, Curalin's not for everybody. It's for almost everybody, okay? And, you know, something that you can look into that may or may not enhance your results, whether you're doing this or any other supplement. And you got is you want to look into some things like of the intermittent fasting. Again, everybody's body's different, so some people, they may have good effects just going to 2 meals a day, perhaps skipping breakfast and not eating till lunch. Okay, so there's a longer fasting period that may help you fight insulin resistance. And in that process of, you know, finding the insulin resistance, your insulin is working better, so you may be able to take, you know, less medication, or for that matter, even less products. So maybe perhaps instead of taking 2, you can take 1 per meal, or 1 per day, or 2 per day, or you know, you can play around with that. Now, the intermittent fasting, you got to be careful with your if you're taking prescription drugs. Because if you're taking something that's hyperglycemic in nature, the medication, and then you don't eat anything, it's gonna drop your sugar real low. Especially if you try to do the longer fast, like your 24-hour. Let's say you eat at lunchtime, okay, and then you don't eat the next day till lunch. You know, that's 24-hour period. You know. Things, you know, or even better than that, if you can do a 3-day fast, which is probably about the longest I've done, or like a total fast, maybe closer to 3 days. That first couple days not so bad, but it kind of helps reset some things in your body. I was listening to some, a doctor on the radio. I'm not sorry, it wasn't a doctor. They were a chiropractor, but they deal with, as far as health and, that kind of thing. And they were talking about how fasting, that doing a 5-day fast once a year can, just that by itself, reduce the risk of most forms of cancer. So that's something that's always stuck in my mind. And I've seen that, research in other places, but it's called intermittent fasting. So there's a lot of authors, and you can look into. The thing I'm not so keen on as far as what I eat diet is the keto craze. Now, I think for some people, okay, now, me personally, if you're not diabetic, you shouldn't even be looking at keto, okay? It's crazy. I think you should be trying to get, for a lack of a better way to explain it, is more balance, a balance between your carbohydrates, your proteins, and your fats, and not try to just restrict and then have this kind of seesaw type thing. But the keto, I think from what I can gather, there is doctors that are saying instead of it helping your insulin resistance, because if you're not getting carbs, you're going to your sugar is going to drop more than likely. Not for everybody, because even protein, even fats can turn into sugar and different things like that in the body. Maybe not fats, but definitely protein. But the keto thing, to me, from what I can research, it's more of it really, I think instead of long term, it increases your insulin resistance. So you might have a short period. Now, for the purposes of intermittent fasting, for perhaps if you do like a low carb meal, like lunch, with a higher fat content, and then you're gonna fast for a 24-hour period or 3-4 days or something like that, therapeutically, for limited amounts of time, perhaps that would be a way that I'd recommend. I know for me, for my body, now I'm gonna tell you, I'm a meat eater. I like beef, I like chicken, I like fish, I like it all, okay? But for a diabetic, those, depending on your blood type, there's a lot of different things. I know for me, even without Curalin, if I go on to something like a vegetarian diet, I can pretty much control my blood sugar without even a supplement of Curalin, okay? And it's just, I think, how my body reacts, with some of the churches I've been involved with, we've done, if you've heard of like the Daniel fast, which is predominantly a vegetarian kind of thing where you just eat, vegetables and things like that. I've always seen great results when I've been able to do that, but long term it's not very it's hard for me to stick to. So I aim to try to have a balance. I'm not going to restrict myself on anything. Like today, I ate a chocolate, like half a chocolate bar, but it wasn't. It was a brand that didn't have sugar, meaning it was but it's not the one where you have some of these bad sugars like the sucralose. It was by a company called Lily's, and it was milk chocolate combination with hazelnut, which was probably one of their better ones. And still gonna have some carbs. I think half a bar was like 12 grams of carbs, so you got to be mindful of that. But sugar doesn't have any kind of sugar, and it uses I have a hard time pronouncing, but it's erythritol or something like that. Kind of like the same sugar that's in that. It's I don't know if you've ever seen it in the grocery store. It's called Swerve, which to me, for a sugar substitute that's not going to affect the blood sugar, that's not bad for you, like aspartame or sucralose or Splenda, all these ones that you've seen. But a lot of people don't know about Splenda. Okay, that the way it works. And again, I'm not a medical person. I'm not I don't have a biology major. I'm not a scientist, anything like that. But one of the molecular structure of Splenda, one of the atoms is or one of the particles is chlorine. Okay, so what happens when that you ingest that? If it's mixed with certain things that are in, let's say, processed meats, that can release, I believe, and you can research it yourself, but I believe they release nitrates. Okay, like certain meats, like let's say pepperoni, which is on a pizza, has nitrates. Okay, that can release nitrates, but also even with the Splenda can release chlorine gas, which if you know anything, you know, chlorine gas is not going to, of course, very small amounts, but over time, what are the results? We don't know. Is it bad? We don't know. Is it good? You know, it's questionable at best. But anyways, I'll kind of close it out there. I just kind of want to get on, talk a little bit about, and I'm putting this video on kind of after the fact. I've had wrote this article, had hundreds of people, over 400 people that have checked out the article that I've written on, you know, is Curalin a scam? So thanks for reading it. So what I did is I'm going back, putting a video on this article to just a little clarification. If there's anything else that you'd like me to talk about and add to this, just let me know. You can find us on the Facebook groups and stuff like that. I think it's Winning with Diabetes. I don't know what the Facebook. Maybe later I'll put a Facebook group for this product on the article. But if not, you can probably find it on Facebook groups. Anyways, guys, y'all have an excellent rest of your Monday, and thanks for checking it out.